We're now joined by the man who will be taking on Conor Benn once again. That rematch, this rematch is of, I gotta say, guys, that's an all-time classic. When you think of the storylines, the action it produced, the drama, the rally at the end, the whole thing, it's a classic. It's a classic. People will be talking about that fight forever.
That atmosphere,
Absolutely. Chris Eubank Jr., welcome to the show.
Good evening, gentlemen.
So, all right, I have to start with the press conference, Chris, because that made news when you accused Eddie Hearn of blocking the ambulance after the first fight from leaving, and that your toenail eventually fell off. Eddie, you were kind of, your toenail fell off, but I felt the point you were making is the condition you were in necessitated a speedy trip to the hospital, and you felt that that was blocked. What happened there? What can you say about that now?
What I can say is, obviously, Eddie Hearn wasn't physically staying in the way of the ambulance, but he is the head promoter in the, he's controlling the event. And in that event, its main participant was held up in an ambulance for over 20 minutes and not able to leave the grounds to go to hospital. So, regardless of whether he directly or indirectly had anything to do with it, there is some accountability that needs to be had. There was no investigation, there was no apologies, there was nothing. Whereas, in all the other things I'm getting investigated for in terms of saunas and egg slaps. Everyone's immediately jumping on me, fining me for all that. But where's the investigation for something as serious as an ambulance not being able to leave a stadium? That just it doesn't sit right with me. So hopefully we can get to the bottom of that situation over the next couple of weeks. I've been called a liar. I've been called a drama queen, but what reason would I have to lie about something as serious as that? It can't happen again. I'm not bringing it to light for any other reason than to help protect other fighters from the same thing that may happen to them in the future. It can't happen again.
Chris, you mentioned...
And yes, my toenail did fall off. That was made fun of, but I've had 38 professional fights, and not one of those has a part of my body ever fallen off. So that was the point of why I said what I said. It's an unusual thing to happen. The people that laugh at that are the types of people that have never had fights of their own in their lives. They don't understand the severity of dehydration or of putting your body through something to where something like that can happen. But it's okay, I am going to go into that ring on November 15th, and we're going to set the record straight. I won the first fight, but I won it in a fashion which I was proud of, but at the same time, there was disappointment in that victory. I wanted to make sure that he didn't see the 12th round. I wanted to make sure that there was no question who the better fighter was. And the fact that, Conor Benn can come out away from that fight saying that he hurt me and that, I was a one shot away from finishing the fight, that's all lies. But I want it to be conclusive this time around.
Listen, Mike Coppinger. Hey, Chris. Mike Coppinger has to practice his impeccable timing on interviews again. Go ahead, Mike.
So, Chris, you mentioned the toenail, and I agree. That's no joke. Obviously, dehydration is serious. But how seriously did you consider going in a different direction, considering that the same rehydration clause is in effect for the rematch as the first fight?
It's these are not easy waters to navigate. The final contract for this fight hasn't actually even been fully agreed on. So there's still a few things that we're going to try and smooth out and make right.
That's a cryptic response. What do you mean? What hasn't been fully agreed upon? Mike, is it your understanding it's been done?
My understanding is that it was a 2-fight deal, so that all the stipulations for the first fight, including the rehydration clause, where you can't gain more than 10 pounds, were in effect for the second fight. At least that's the understanding on the Benn side.
But Chris, you're saying that's not the case? What has not been agreed upon?
I'm saying that yes, there is. We agreed for a second fight before the first fight, but there are certain parts of the contract that are still up for negotiation. I'm not going to go into what parts of those contracts that they are, but we are in the negotiations for certain things. So it's up to me and my team to get the best deal. Let's put it that way.
Conor showed you something that you didn't believe that he had in him, right? So going into the rematch,
right,
you knowing that he showed you this character, this warrior mentality, are you still aiming for the knockout going in? And is that why Bomac was brought in, to go for a knockout? Are you looking for a knockout statement in this fight?
I mean, but Bomac wasn't brought in so that I could get a knockout. I wanted a different camp. I wanted a different set of instructions, a different strategy, a different game plan. I don't think any top tier trainer only focuses on, okay, how can we get the knockout for this fight? We're not training for that. We're training for a 12-round war because that's what could happen. But in my mind, I'm doing everything I can to implement tactics to get him out of there before that 12th round comes. And yes, Bomac and the team will help me to implement that strategy.
That's beautiful. Hey, Chris, real quick. I love the egg slap. That's a classic, dog. I don't know if you've been thinking about that, but what you say? Match! I loved it, though. I want to ask you this. It was so much talk about your pops. Would he be there? Would he not be there? And when he jumped out that Rolls Royce, the fans went crazy. So did I. How important was that for your dad to be there in your corner, man, to cheer you on and help you out?
You know what? It was actually more important for the fans, for the people, for boxing, for sports. What it meant to me pales in comparison to what it means to, the public, to see a father and son go through tough times and then to eventually unite, come together, put everything aside, and become one. That's a huge thing that surpasses boxing. It meant a lot to me, of course, but the messages and the things I hear from people about how, after that fight, they went and they spoke to their dad immediately and went up and had dinner with their dads the next day, and they haven't spoken to them for weeks or months. That is what makes me happy about my father showing up for me at that time. And yes, him being there, it did give me that little extra boost on the night, knowing that he was there, knowing that he was watching. So yeah, it was a blessing.
That's interesting as fans, because just watching the fight as a boxing fan, I got the feeling like this is a big moment for us, for the viewer. It's like a soap opera, or But hearing that it actually did do something for you is interesting. Like, you never know. You assume, but you never know. Is there? Let me take another pass at Malik's question, Chris. Phrase it a little different way. I assume this is kind of what you're getting at. Is there something you're going to do different in this fight? Because you just said you have to prepare for a 12-round war, because he showed you he can do that. But you've also said you need to win decisively. So what changes? What has changed in your preparation specifically where you're preparing now to win decisively?
There was a reason that the fight played out the way it played out in April. There's a reason for that. And it's up to me now to make sure that I don't let this guy see the 12th round. I'm not going to go into why it went 12 rounds. I'm not going to go into why it was the type of fight that it was, but there's a chance for the fight to be very different in November.
Chris Eubank Jr., thank you for joining us. We very much look forward to this rematch. It was a legitimately great first fight and a great event, and we look forward to seeing the rematch. Thanks, Chris.
All right, Chris.
Stay on Eddie, dog.
Okay, thanks, guys.